everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 3 of Blue Lock. And last episode, we kind of established the rules, how everything's going. We've got like 5 groups of 5. We have 5 towers, 5 groups within each tower, and we are slowly narrowing down to the top 5 strikers that are going to play in this upcoming game at some point for the Japanese team. So we got to learn a little bit more about Ego, got to learn about Thierry, got to learn about Sai, or I think it's Sai, our magenta-haired, aquamarine-eyed man who's a middle fielder who is like very, very eager to see who's going to become Japan's next top striker. But we got to see that, and we got to learn a little bit more about the dynamics. I really like Bachira. They're really cool. We've learned more about the dynamics of who all is left, the 11 remaining players in the room, and I made my predictions of who was going to go. So, which will probably turn out to be wrong because Kira was kicked out first episode. So we have a game coming up. We're against Team X. We're facing them. We're Z. Y was not available. But we're facing Team X to advance on. I guess it would make sense you have X and Z, and you probably have W and Y together. So it's just like going around in a circle, and then we have a mixed match of who's going to face the other person. V, I guess, would be the other one. But yeah, I'm really excited. I've got a couple comments before we start. Geen was talking about how Isagi's trainer in high school at the very beginning was voiced by the same voice actor as Fukuzawa from Bungo Stray Dogs, which is really cool. But also, Kunigami, who is the guy that looks like Ichigo with the red hair, is voiced by the same voice actor as Kagami. I could definitely see some overlap between Kuroko's basketball voice actors and this series already, because we have Akashi's voice actor playing Ego, we have Kagami's voice actor playing Kunigami, and according to Wim, we have the voice actor for Murasaki Bara and Momo from Free is the same one as Kira. So I was like, look at that, imagine that, just all the voice actors. But Wim noted that the voice actor for Gurimu, who is the one that looks like Connie from Attack on Titan, is the same one as Seiya from Sarune. And I was like, well, that's really cool. And the Namasan that they say is a Buddhist way of saying amen that ties to the monk background that Gurimu has. And then Ego, I love the idea that if you shipped Kira and Asagi in the first episode, Ego just came in and like crushed that ship into the deep blue, as it would be, right? Into the deep blue. And I like the way Wim shared Wim shared a bunch of information about the difference between an egoist and an egotist. And it is very easy to confuse the two because there are similarities, but it's an idea of putting self-interest, and then it's like advocating for yourself, and then obviously advocating for yourself over others. And there's lots of complexities, but if I accidentally say egoist instead of egotist, humor me. Humor me. There's a lot of egos going on in this series, but I liked the idea as being an egoist that Wim brought up the idea that Asagi, they say whenever their team loses, they were like, I want to win. But the thing is, they didn't say, I want us to win as a team, but they personally want to be a winner of that game. So understandable, right? Understandable. You definitely get where Isagi's coming from. He's like, I want to be strong enough that no matter what team I'm on, I'm going to lead us to victory. And that's kind of going along the same tune of what Ego kind of wants. Ego's like, whatever team you're on, you've got to be able to take them to the top. Can you do that? And there is something to what Ego's saying too, in that if they are on teams with people they haven't gelled with, then, and they're so used to team camaraderie being a factor in winning, then that can affect the outcome of the game. But if you're somebody that's like, no matter where I'm at, whatever position you put me in, whatever team I'm on, I'm going to do well, well then we don't have to worry about anything. So I see where Ego's coming from. I definitely feel like if you only watched the first episode, it could be a little bit off-putting, and you're like, oh, what's this message? No Nakama. What? Every sports anime is about the Nakama. What? And then suddenly, you're doing something different. But in this case, I feel as if the show is giving explanations to why it's doing what it's doing. And with it being soccer, there's room for some egoism. So I'm pretty excited. But I've talked enough. I'm not going to talk anymore, but we're going to get started very soon with this episode of Blue Lock. But if we're going to talk about egos, we might as well talk about another series that just happens to have some characters that are a little bit egotistical and egoistical as well. Have a look. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. It's Romania Black, and in today's episode of Blue Lock, we talk about egoists, which are people that are somewhat selfish and self-centered, but they have their self-interest in mind and know how to push the agenda for the sake of the team. And when I think of an egoist and Ace of the Diamond, the person that comes to mind to me is May Naramia, who is one of the opponent players in the series that Sato, the main team, faces. May is a little bit selfish and can be kind of self-important, but he's extremely talented, extremely confident, and knows exactly what needs to be done to lead his team to victory. I think that May would do pretty well in the world of Blue Lock if he was playing soccer. But who knows? You can find out more about May, though, if you go and watch Ace of the Diamond whenever you're done with this episode of Blue Lock. Now, back to the reaction. And I almost forgot about my annual Ace of the Diamond ad, but no such luck. I'm not going to forget. Nope. Gotta plug that Ace of the Diamond wherever I can. Kelsey in the Discord, we were talking about it, and they were like, are you going to do 24 different ads for the entire season? I'm like, I would like to do that. It's a creative venture. And they were like, you could just do like what Blue Lock did during the entirety of Koshin and just play the same ad over and over again. And I was like, that I could do, and if I run out of ideas, I will do. But we've not reached that point yet, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm really excited, y'all, to dive into this episode of Blue Lock and see what crazy shenanigans we end up with. I hope you all are too. So we're going to start episode 3 of Blue Lock and just see what we get, shall we? And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, this episode was a bit... I found myself so caught up in this episode that at times I was like, oh yeah, I need to talk about things and we need to go over this. Especially when we did a little short at the end, the overtime. I just not want to sit there and watch it and I forget, oh yeah, I probably need to talk about it. And plus, I do like that they're giving us little graphics with the characters' names beside them, because these characters don't have easy names. They have very complicated names. Although you say that, they have very complicated names that all sound kind of similar to me. Right now, it's fascinating. But okay, I am really glad that the elephant in the room is addressed in this episode, and that is the idea of, if we're trying to create Japan's next top striker, then what do we do about these egos? And how does that function as a team? And I feel, Wim, like you were maybe predicting where this conversation was going to go by the time I got to episode 3, because when they posted the stuff about the egoist versus the egotist, I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, they're kind of similar but different. No, it all makes sense now why you would share that. Because this entire episode is basically about the egoist versus the egotist, and the reason why ego wants an egoist and not an egotist. And so we need to talk about the differences between those, because I think it's relevant to what they're trying to do, what the rules of this crazy 5-round round robin was. I was getting worried because I forgot that it was a round robin for a hot second, and I was like, so they're going to lose and they're going to be done, and this, we're only 3 episodes in, and but no, it's a round robin. So we've gotten the hardest part out of the way this episode, and that is they lost dramatically, although not as dramatically as the Team Y's defeat, where they defeated their team 8-0. I think that was W and Y maybe. But they didn't lose quite as bad as that team. However, they did suffer a defeat. We got to meet King Bayou, who the Bayou King, King Bayou. I'm going to call him that. And I think he's played by Suabe. I think the voice actor Suabe. He had a very deep and sensual voice for a high school student. But I loved it. Which Kunigami has the voice of a 40-year-old man because he's voiced by a 40-year-old man. But I love his voice too. I love Kagami's voice sounds deeper as Kunigami, but I feel like that's just the fact that voice actor is older than he was when he was voice acting Kuroko's basketball. He's a little bit older, but the voice is a little bit deeper. But I'm like, man, puberty hit him like a Mack truck. Let me tell you. So I feel like all these characters were hit by Mack trucks in puberty, but we'll go on that. I'm just saying, there were no Bashiras when I was in high school. Or Kunagamis, for that matter. But let's talk about this episode, because I think that Ego has a method to his madness. I feel like Ego is very Willy Wonka-ish, and that when you first meet him, he's very eccentric, over the top, and you're like, who's this crazy loony bin, and what is this weirdo factory that we're stuck in? But the more you get to know Willy Wonka as a character, you feel like he's actually pretty layered. He's doing a lot of different things to try to find ways to meet his agenda. And that is Ego as well. He comes across and draws your attention in with how flashy and extreme he seems, but he does have a method to his madness. And Isagi is trying to discover what that madness and method is. He's trying to figure out both. So we need to talk about this episode and kind of break it down, because they decide, okay, they do rock, paper, scissors. Isagi is not Miyuki Kazuya from Ace of the Diamond. Isagi is actually really good at rock, paper, scissors, apparently. Lemon is not. Lemon is an easy name to remember. Poor Lemon. Bless him. He is not, and he ends up as the goalie. We'll talk about that. But he wants to be forward. He is our prototype. He's everything Ego should want in a striker. Maybe that's why he keeps coming back. Maybe I joked in the reaction. I'm like, there's 55 teams in Blue Lock right now. Does Ego go to each and every team and give the same spiel? Does he have a teleprompter like RuPaul again? But I feel like maybe, did Ego remember that Isagi was the first to take off towards him when he announced the proposition and everybody else kind of followed suit? Was he the one that created 1 from 0 in soccer back at the initiation? Was it him? And maybe did Ego remember him and has taken a shine to him and keeps following his team to try to help him work his way to the top like Charlie Buckets and Willy Wonka? Maybe. But okay, so they decide he's gonna be forward, and then they're like, you guys are the 55 of you in building 5, a 5-team round robin. So it's kind of like when we do competitive speech, I coach that, and basically it's kind of like how you break out of prelims. So we have 5 teams in the round robin. This is essentially like breaking into finals in a speech tournament, now that I think about it. So you have, if you win, you get 3 points. If you have a draw, it's 1 point. And if you lose, it's 0. You technically need 7 points to secure a win and advancing. Because of the 5 teams, only 2 teams per block, or a total of 10 teams, are going to advance. Okay, well, we have already faced Bayou's team and lost, so I think it would be kind of fun if Bayou's team and our team advanced, if Team Z and Team X advanced, if they were the 2 teams that went on ahead. But that may not happen. I like Bayou's character a lot. He's a fun villain, so, or at least a fun antagonist for Sagi, so I would like him to come back, but he may get booted out by another team, so it's very possible that he may not advance, but it'd be kind of cool if he did. So our Team Z has already lost 1. So basically, let's find this out here. We know that Team Z is at 0, Team X is at 3 points, Team Y is at 3 points, and Team W is 0. We don't know about V. So really, these 2 teams are well on their way. We can't lose any more matches. We have to win everything else from here on in, or we're screwed. But what's interesting is, he says it's a 5-team round robin, right? So 2 teams are guaranteed to make it into the next round, but that's not all. That is not all in this scenario. However, the top, what does he say here? He says those who are kicked out will be forever ineligible for the national team. Yes, but he also says that the top scorers from the 3 losing teams will advance to the next selection. So you have basically, let me get this right. So we have 55 teams of 5, which is 275 people. Of those 5 teams, 2, which is 11 players, so 22 plus the top 3, that's how we get our 25. Okay, that are going to advance on to the next one. So times 5. Oh, okay. And that will get us out there. Okay, so 25 people. So we're basically narrowing down from 275 to 125. We're cutting half the people out of the race. Okay, so we're going to end up with 125 people. We're going to move 150 people out of the rankings and down to 125. Okay. That makes more sense. The math is adding up. I'm like, okay, I'm not a math major, so I'm like, you got to give me a hot second to figure it all out. So what could happen is that Team X, they won that one match. They may lose the next several matches, and maybe, I'm going to say that Team X may not advance, but Bayou definitely will. Bayou, whatever his name is, the king, he's going to advance. He's got too good of a voice actor and too good of a design to not advance. Nobody else on his team seemed to matter, but he scored 5 in that one match. He scored 5 goals, so he's probably going to be one of the top scorers, I'm sure. So he's probably going to advance. Now, the question is going to be, is Sagi going to be, is their team going to lose and Isagi's going to advance? Or is it going to be one of those situations where their team is one of the 2 that wins, but then some others from the other losing teams, from the 3 losing teams, have somebody that advances? I don't know. That's going to be really interesting because, I mean, I would like personally for Team Z to advance to the next round with the other teams. I would love for that to happen. But if that doesn't happen, I would love for Isagi to be the one to advance with the others. But the problem with that is that means that Bashira and the others aren't going to advance. So I'm like, oh no. That's the scary thing about this entire series, is that you know in the back of your head, eventually they're going to all get kicked out except for the top 5. Eventually. So I don't want Kunigami and Bashira and the redhead to leave at the end of this season, because what I think is going to happen is this entire season is going to be, we're 3 episodes in and we're done with the first match. We still have 4 more matches to go. I don't know. We still have 4 matches to go and we're on episode 3. So if we did episodes 4 and 5 over episode 4 over the next match, 5, 6, and 7. So by halfway through the season, either we're going to make it to this next round or Isagi leaves the others, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want Bashira and Kunigami and the redhead to only be around for like 12 episodes and then we have to leave them. I don't want that. I want them to stick around. So I'm hoping that that's the case. And who knows? They may expand on these episodes and this entire first block, round robin, may take up the whole season, but I don't think it is. I think it's going to be just the first core, and then we're going to get into round 2 with the 125 that are left. Now, obviously, I don't think we're going to get down to the top 5 in this first season. No, this seems like a very complicated game, but I feel like we are going to at least get through this round robin, the first core, and go from there. So I'm hoping that Team Z is one of the top 2 teams, that they figure things out. But then if not, then Isagi's going to have to be the top scorer, but then we leave Bashira and the others behind. I'm not ready for that. I want Bashira and Kunigami and him and the redhead to go all the way, but that's probably not going to happen. So yeah. So we talk about when all the matches are over, there's a yellow card, 2 yellow cards in one game is sent off, and there's a red card. If more than one player has the most goals in a team, we'll go by fair point plays. Oh, okay. So interesting. If the points are tied, then what does it say here? Then the high-ranked player progresses. Interesting. When all the matches are over. Interesting. The player with the least... What did he just say there? He said if more than one player has the most goals in a team, then we'll go by fair play points. Oh, and the player with the least penalty points will progress. Okay, so if you have a team where you have 2 scorers that were really, really good, like if Isagi ties with Raichi, for example, and we go by whoever has the least penalty points, they're the ones that's going to progress. I don't like Raichi. I will say that off the bat. Raichi annoyed the hell out of me this episode. I wanted to just take Raichi and put him in the penalty box and be like, stay there and go away. I'm not feeling Raichi yet. He's just like really annoying to me, but he might grow on me. The karma of a striker is put to the test in this first selection. This is a battle about creating soccer from zero, finding order amongst the chaos, finding a way to become a leader and lead your team to victory instead of just being this chaotic mess, right? So yeah, we got Team Z's locker room. We get everybody spread out. Everybody's all getting ready there. I like the red hair and how they put their hair up in the ponytail. It's great. And so they have a systematic thing on the board, right? They have basically Isagi, and then Bachira is by him. Imamura, Kunigami, Raichi, poor Lemon is stuck as the goalie. Chigiri is the redhead. Igaguri is Connie lookalike. Kone, I like Kone. Gagamaru, Naruhaya, I know them, but I don't. And then Imamura, I know them, but I don't. The others I kind of have gotten so far. But yeah, this is the formation of our first match. Right. And I can see what Ego is saying, being like, we've made up all of these positions and tried to give order to chaos. And that's not really how this works. He threw some shade towards baseball, and I was like, okay. Not really shade, but he was just like, okay, this is how soccer is very different from baseball, which is a very organized, structured activity that Japanese culture can fall in line with quite easily. And Japan doesn't quite fall in line with soccer as well, because soccer is just trying to organize chaos. You're trying to herd cats, essentially. And it's a lot more complicated than it looks. And they've tried, and he's basically saying we've tried to make soccer more and more complicated to compete with these other organized sports, but that's not how soccer is. He's like, it's basically just scoring goals. And you have to have a striker that can be a leader and can get his team behind him to score those goals. So, we'll dive more into this, but yeah. I like Kunigami a lot. And Igaguri. Okay, Igaguri is the one that was complaining. Okay. I don't want to play defense. Yeah, the one guy saying that. None of them do. They're all... And Gin. Gin is Gugamaru, right? Yes. And like, everybody here is somebody that has played an offensive position. None of them have really played defense. I felt bad for Lemon. Lemon's like, I've never been a goalie. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel bad for Lemon. I feel like Lemon's going to be one of the first ones to go from the team when it gets to that point. And I feel sorry for him, because I like Lemon a lot, and he's too nice for this world. He's too nice for the world of Blue Lock. But yeah, I like that Chigiri points out that all we've got to do is win. And it's not that easy, right? Chigiri's like, oh, sure, we just got to win. That's all. And it's like, no, there's a lot more to it than that. But what do you do, right? It's like, well, there's much more to it than that. But that's what this episode is focusing on, is showing these players like how we do it. How do we create soccer from zero? I like Isagi is trying to figure out. Isagi reminded me a lot of Sawamura in this episode from Ace of the Diamond, who's like one of my favorite sports main characters. Isagi reminded me a little bit of him, especially when he was getting like razzed on by the other players and was called a loser. He's like, what? No. It's like Isagi is trying to progress, and he's trying to become a better player. And he's trying to figure out what Ego wants. And he's trying to learn and do the right thing. And he gets dogged by it so much in this episode. And I'm like, leave Isagi alone, you soccer egotists or egoists. So we have Team X come out. And basically the only one that stands out, I know they all have funky character designs, but really number 10, Bayou, is the only one that stands out, which... He's the leader. He's the one that formed the team. He's the one that took charge and was the king, right? He's the one that took center stage. Mm-hmm. And so he's the one that... He's a good example of an egoist, like what Ego's looking for. So then we have the OP. Get past that. I like that the OP is all like the puzzle pieces. It's a fun time. And so, yeah. We get back to the game here about Soccer Zero. First match is a half game of 45 minutes. Not a lot of time, right? This is just a very quick, let's get people in and out. This round robin is not going to take a lot of time overall. And it was kind of hard to watch because it just devolves so quickly. Because Raichi is... Raichi just doesn't care about the team. He's definitely... We should probably at this point break down the egoist versus egotist before we get into this. So Wim sent me all these things about the differences between them. So you have an egoist. And the egoist is someone who puts their own interests before the needs of others. So it's their own interests before others. Right? And they also self-interest is placed on that. But there's also a difference there where it's somebody who they may seem selfish. They may be seen as selfish or self-centered. Right? Okay. So they could be seen as self-centered or selfish. But there is a difference between that and an egotist. An egotist, on the other hand, is self-absorbed. Is self-absorbed and arrogant, vain, and they are excessively, I like how they word this, excessively self-important and a show-off. And then the other thing frames it as they have an exaggerated sense. Exaggerated sense of self-worth. Basically, egoism is tied with confidence. It's confidence in leadership. Basically, whenever somebody tells you that a character is arrogant and they're like, but do they have the things to back it up? And you're like, well, yeah, then they're like, it's not arrogance, it's confidence. That's sort of the difference between an egoist and an egotist. A character like May from Ace of the Diamond, he is definitely an egoist. He is believes he is very selfish, very self-centered. He's like, I am the ace pitcher. I'm doing this. My needs go beyond my catcher's needs. And the catcher just has to kind of like, okay, well then how do I work with this? That's sort of how this game is going. It's the idea of I am confident in my own abilities. I know what needs to be done. Y'all help me out and we'll get this thing accomplished. That's basically what Isagi realizes by the end of this episode. He's like, okay, somebody, Team X had an egoist forward. Like Bayou is like, no, I know what's going to make us win. Y'all follow me and we'll do it. And it worked for them, right? Raichi is an egotist. Raichi ain't proved nothing yet. Raichi has not proved that he has the chops to be a leader. He's not proved that he's a scorer. He's just out there being arrogant and vain and trying to take the ball and not trying to help the team win in any way, shape, or form. He's just out there for his own self, but it's just he's too self-absorbed and he's just exaggerating his importance, right? That is the big difference between the two of them. And it was hard to watch for a little bit. I was like, you guys, and Kunigami seemed, and Kuan and Kunigami try to like remedy the situation, but it just becomes this big conglomerate glob of chaos. And I like that Isagi's like, this is not soccer. This is not soccer. This is just a mess. And it takes Bayou taking the ball away and going towards the goal to change it into something different. Right? And I feel like Ego could see Isagi standing out by himself trying to rationalize all of this. I love that Bayou has the red glow around him with the eyes, the smoke. He's like, get out of my way or I'll kill you. Yes, the BL ranking, he's 250. Barou, not Bayou. He's from the Bayou. Barou, there we go. I'll get their names right eventually. Barou Shoei. Yes, I like Barou. He's cool. He's got this kingly appearance by him. It's funny seeing Kagami and Almine's voice actors on the field at the same time on opposing teams. It's great. I love it. They're just not quite as tied to another character like those two were. But yeah, I like Barou's design. I like the little X. And he even has a little X in his hair that matches the team that he's in. How about that? I wonder if he was in Team Y if he would have changed it. Right? But he's such a cool character. And he just is so effortless in how he gets along the field. I don't know what a nutmeg is. Apparently it's a soccer move, but I find it very funny. And then poor Lemon. Lemon's like, I don't know how to defend this goal. Like, he scored a goal in the first 5 minutes. He's like, the ball isn't my friend or any nonsense like that. It's a spherical servant that exists so I can shine. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty egoist, but that's what ego wants. Somebody like Barou that's like, no, this ball's going to help me achieve my goal. I don't talk to it. We're not chums. I'm just here to get my job done, and I want to be the star. I respect. I get it. So poor Asagi. Asagi is just like trying to break down the situation, and it is not good. He's like, we have to win. And him and Bachira try to do stuff. Bachira and him, like, they try to like organize a goal, and then Connie gets in the way. And then oh gosh, Igugumi, the one with the buzz cut, the monk, he gets in the way and doesn't let them score. And I was so frustrated. I was like, come on, guys. And so things just take a really bad turn. I do like the little shadows on their bodies as they're going down the court look like little X's. It's good. And then Asagi marks out all the different things, like how we're gonna lose because we're not being cohesive or organized in any way, shape, or form. Like, we have to create something from nothing. And that's what Ego's talking about, creating soccer from zero. Right now, when you get on the field and you're just trying to get the ball and move around, there's no organization. It's just chaos. There's nothing there. You have to create some kind of organized structure on the field. And I like that Ego points out that, yes, you are creating a structure. You are creating a structure, but your opponents are trying to destroy that structure. That's something that sets Blue Lock apart from other sports anime, in that in like a baseball show or a basketball show, there's a structure there, and there's not really any way, especially in baseball, there's not really any way to destroy that structure. It is there in place for a reason. Everyone masters their certain roles, and everything works cohesively like an oiled machine. In soccer, you can't just stay in one spot, and there's not an organized location of where you go when you score. So it's all over the field, and anything can happen. It does a good job of making soccer seem interesting. When you think of it that way, it does a good job of making it seem intriguing. Like, you're like, oh, well, I hadn't thought about it this way. And Asagi is like, we need to create a team. It's like, we're going to the primordial ooze. We're going to like the Neanderthal ages and taking the field and the soccer ball, and we're creating the idea of a team. And what does it mean to be a team? And I like the idea that you have the ego, you have the forward, the striker, the egoist. And then you have they lead to the goal, and everyone else amplifies that goal. Everyone else helps solidify that opportunity for the forward. But the thing of it is, you have to, as a team, come together and back the person that's the striker. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And our team could not back the person that was a striker from the beginning. They were all trying to do the job of just being the top dog, and nothing was happening. So with 5 minutes left, Asagi's like, Bachira, are we on the same page? Are we going to at least try to score a goal? I love Asagi and Bachira working together. I feel like Bachira is just like, yeah, I trust you. Let's do it. Like, he's just kind of like, okay. And Asagi's like, all right. Also, I like the idea of when they're going to score, that he has that like inner monster moment where the monster like tells his body what to do. And he knew instinctively he was not going to get the ball past Barou, so he passes it to Kunigami. It's like his body was like, I'm passing it to Raichi, he's going to fuck it up. So I'm going to pass it over to Kunigami, who scores the goal. So yeah, it's just like, and Isagi's like, I don't know why I passed it. It's like, because your body recognized it couldn't take on Barou and did the next best thing. The thing that sucks about that is that Barou gives him a hard time, and he's like, well, you just couldn't match up to me as a striker, and if you can't do that, you need to go home. And I was like, dude, I don't think that he should get dogged for playing it smart and making a good decision. I also love that the moment they decide to do something, their eyes change into that little creepy swirly eyes. It's very Soul Eater. And so they make the choice to go, and he's just like, there's no way I'm getting past him. And he's like, I gotta go for it if I want to live in Blue Lock, if I want to live as a striker, I've got to go forward. But that's when he sees the people coming up through the field, and his body instinctively, instead of taking on him, he passes it over without even looking and gives it to Kunigami. I don't think Barou is, I think Barou is mistaken in getting on to Asagi for doing this. I think him doing that was a good thing. But I don't think Barou, who's like such an egoist and so selfish and wants the ball, doesn't see the point of doing that. But I think that having leadership skills and having the confidence in yourself to know when and what to do, I think that is important. I mean, as other sports anime have shown, even when you are the strongest, you've got to know and be smart enough to know which play to make and when. And I think that part of the confidence is Isagi knowing when he can't move forward and say, okay, well, now I'm going to make this move and it's going to help us score. Because that's the whole thing, right? And then Kunigami gets it. So Kunigami, who is our gym junkie, he is able to score the goal from very far away. So maybe that's a talent that he has. He can score long range. Maybe that's something that he can do. And then Raichi's just, Raichi's like, why'd you pass it to him? I'm the one who wants all the extra points. And Isagi's like, well, I was going to shoot. My body just acted on its own. Again, Raichi makes me so mad this episode because I'm like, dude, tone it the frick down. You're getting too, he's getting egotistical and it's not good. And Kon has to break them up, right? At least they scored. And so then that's when Barou says, you have no talent. And Isagi's just like, oh. And it like zooms out away from his face. He's like, how dare you tell me I have no talent? Like, we scored because of me, sir. I want a rematch between Barou and Isagi so bad, but I know we're not going to get it anytime soon. That's just so sad. I was like, oh, come on. And so then they lose. I feel bad for Isagi because he feels like he's let the team down and he was trying to do good and it didn't work. And I also like that Kunigami and Bachira are the two on either side of him that seem to support him. Like, you can already tell that Bachira and Kunigami have, like, attached themselves to Isagi as friends. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for Chigiri to come in, too, and be, like, the fourth friend. They could be the Fab Four. Could they be the Fab Four? Yes, please. I hope that they're our final four. As much as I love Lemon, I want them to be our final four of this group. So, yeah, and then poor Isagi, he's just, like, sitting off there by himself. It felt very Ace of the Diamond. It felt very Sawamura in that moment because Isagi he's down on himself and he doesn't feel his own self-worth in this moment, which is something that happens in Ace of the Diamond. And so I was hoping somebody would break him out of the funk, and he does get broken out of the funk, mainly by Bachira and by Ego. He's like, if you get nervous in front of a goal, you're not cut out to be a striker. But that's the thing. I don't think Isagi was nervous in front of the goal. I think he was just being cautious. And it happened in Kuroko's Basketball. There's a scene where a character could have moved forward to take on the shot, but they passed it knowing that was the smarter move to make. I don't think that it was bad that Isagi did it. I think Barou is mistaken. But Isagi needs to be convinced otherwise. And so he's like, to survive in Blue Lock, what am I lacking as a striker? It's definitely that self-confidence. Isagi needs more of that. He needs Bachira's level of self-confidence, right? And then they're like, and Kwon is like, look, we got to pull it together or we're not going to win the next round and we're going to get kicked out. He's like, if we're going to win, if we don't get serious, then it's going to be over for us. But Kwon doesn't exactly have a plan. And Raichi's like, whatever. And then we have Bachira naked. Why not have Bachira naked? It was the best goal of the day for sure. Like, Bachira just having, like, all the abs for days, all the muscles for days, and everybody's like, oh, like, you're naked. And he's like, right, Isagi? And Isagi's like, oh, Bachira. There's not any blush on his face, but I can imagine somebody editing that. Do I ship Bachira and Isagi a little bit? Yeah, I do. I think it's just amazing that also, is this a Title IX concern that Ego is zooming in on these kids when one of them is like naked in front of him. Is that a concern? Should we be talking to HR about that? should we be talking about HR being like, Ego doesn't need to be seeing these kids naked? Can we talk about this with our HR rep? But yeah, Raichi tries to pass off, or not Raichi, the one kid with the brown hair that I don't think is going to make it long. He tries to pass it off as a wonder goal. And Bachira's like, no, we're going to have to do something. And that's when Chigiri says, I don't think everything Ego says is right. He's like, I think Ego started out, and what he means by that is saying Ego is starting out telling us all these overarching general things. But if we think about it, all the guys Ego talked about, they've never won a World Cup before. They're egoists and the top strikers, but what he's saying is you have to take that egoism and that talent and that confidence and translate it into working as a team. So how do we do that? I like Chigiri's character a lot. They're definitely more analytical, and for a character with all the red hair that looks like Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho, I really appreciate it. And you can tell he kind of looks over to Isagi. Now, normally, if you were a shipper, you would probably be shipping Isagi and Chigiri because they have the red hair and the blue hair side by side. But we haven't seen enough of them together for me to do any shipping. Bachira and Isagi, though, I mean, primary colors. The yellow and the blue for sure. And then Kunigami comes in as the one with the orange hair. It's a battle of creating soccer from zero. And then Isagi takes that same conversation from Chigiri and points out what he was telling himself earlier in the episode. We need a catalyst that can create a path for the goals. We need someone that can turn the 0 into 1. Yep, that's what we need, is the power to produce that 1. And so then Ego, just gets in. I like the idea of Ego, just being around all of them in the background as this creepy octopus. God, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. And he's on the TV. And then, hi there, Diamonds in the Rough. I love that he just looks down at Bachira as naked there, and he's like, I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word. You should see Group D. But yeah. And then he goes, you're on the right track, but you have no idea how to turn 0 into 1. I like that when he talks about Team Y beating Team V beat Team Y. Never mind. Well, Team V would be the strongest team in the block. So yes, Team V for victory. They scored the 3 points. Never mind. We're good. So Team V has the one that I thought was Kira on it. Is that not Kira? Oh no. Uh-oh. Oh no. I thought that was Kira on Team V, but why would you show him and reveal him now if that was the case? No, it's a character whose hair is just a little bit more platinum than Kira's. Oh. So are you telling me Kira is actually legit gone? There's no pork chops? Holy shit, Kira is legit gone. Oh my god, okay. I feel like my world just got turned upside down. I feel like, oh buddy. What the fudge? Never mind. So never mind. Team V, that looks like Kira, but it is not, I guess. It's someone else. Well, okay, I'm sure the comment section has been really been like, Romania, you fool. You fool, Romania. Kira's gone. I didn't know. So, yeah, there's the guy with the glasses, the purple-haired one, and the one with the white hair are all in Team V. Okay. So, yeah, they're going to be a team to beat. Interesting. And they're like, wow. And I like that Bachira's like, yes. I like that Isagi doesn't seem scared of the fact that they won 8-0, but Bachira is like, I want to face them now. I love Bachira. I love this little gremlin. They're so much fun. So, I like that. When did Ego get all of this graphic design and AI technology and stuff? I'm like, Ego has a lot of money to spare. He has L levels of money at this point. But he's basically talking about the Japanese love to have roles allocated so they can just complete their tasks. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people that are like, I just want to do my job. Just give me a task. Let me do it. And I'll be done. Let's just give me the job and go. And I can be like that too at work. I'm like, I just want my job and I want to be done. But that's why they're so good at baseball, because there is a distinct offense and defense position. Each role is clearly defined, and so it fits the psyche like a glove. That's why we're so strong at it. But in soccer, it can be physical, which we're not physical. It can be chaotic, which we don't like. And there's not really a set offense-defense position. It can kind of switch and alternate as the game goes, which makes it a little bit more complicated, and it's not something that we're innately culturally good at. You can't just win by doing the tasks you've been given. You have to have individual skills. So, yes, in Japanese soccer, the positions we're proud of are our midfielders and fullbacks who have a role to play. And he's like, they work like dogs for the team. They turn the one created by the striker into 100. Ego's like, yeah, they basically are the dogs, but we can't go any further because we need a better striker. What I like that he's saying is that typically you have in a sport a structured system where each player on the team has a different role, like the midfielders and fullbacks are like dogs on the team. And he's like, Japan's really good because they're structured positions at making those players very efficient. But he's like, we don't need to try to make this like a system. We need to keep destroying the system. We need to be the only system in place that's functioning. So what he's suggesting is that we have strikers. Your striker is going to destroy the system of the opposing team. The strikers are going to destroy the system of the opposing team. And then that will lead us to use our strategy to show how we're going to take them out. The act of scoring is a revolution on the field where you wreck the other team's order, right? He's like, diamonds in the rough, do not let yourselves get trapped by the notion of roles, or you won't create the one from zero. He's like, if you focus on who's gonna be, what I love about it is he's like, if you're gonna focus on who's gonna be what role, you're missing the point. You're just gonna get trapped in the structure, and that's not what soccer is about. So he's like, you have these weapons that you can use. He's like, you have the idea that you can dribble, you have a header, you have speed, you have technique, get down here, and then you have a free kick. He's like, you have weapons at your disposal that you can use to get past the system that's set up. You can get the ball past the system in unique ways. How are you going to do it? Are you going to mess with the team? Are you going to make them yield? Or are you going to destroy them? What are you going to do to get ahead and find a way to break the system? And that's how we're going to win. What can you do with your body and your mind? He's like, quit trying to put yourself into a box, because that's going to limit you and it's going to keep you from being able to do this. And he gets so crazy. Like, he has like the hair blowing and the flag around him. And he's just sitting there like saying all of this. Like he's talking through a megaphone. Like Ego like woke up and said, he like drank 3 Red Bulls and said, I'm ready to motivate some freaking kids today. So he's like, yeah, it's always your weapon that kickstarts the revolution. He's like, you have to be the one to know what weapon to use and when. Victory only exists once you get beyond that. We've got to break you guys down to scratch, work our way back up, and change your consciousness that you have to play in a role and fit a certain box in order to be successful. He's like, that's not the case at all. I like it. I like the breakdown and how he explains that we're going to just start from scratch. And then he's like, that's the breakthrough we need to win this first set of games. And I like that Isagi and Chigiri seem to be like processing that at the end of the episode. So we get the end of this game, the end of this episode, the ED, and we see Chigiri like in the uniform. We see Kunigami in the snow, and then we see Bachira up against the sunset, right? With the Ikazaki. It looked like an Iwatobi Swim Club jacket, but it's not. But we see the 3 of them with Isagi. And I really love, also, I'm sorry, but if you've watched Attack on Titan Season 4, the ED, the parts where the stadium is blown apart and there's like grass and stuff growing up, does that not remind you of the ED for Season 4, Part 2 of Attack on Titan? Just a little bit, and that would make Asagi like Eren. Again, the parallels. But we have our trio we have Isagi reaching for the blue light along with Kunigami and Chigiri and Bachira. But here's my thing. I think this ED is a lot more somber than it presents itself because, you know, you think, oh, Bachira and Chigiri and Kunigami, they're all like gonna be with Isagi like till the end of the season or whatever. But what if this is like them back home after they get kicked out? What if Kunigami in the snow thinking about things, Chigiri back at school thinking about things, Bachira smiling like a little bit somberly? Like, what if they got to a point and then Isagi went on beyond them and they were kicked out and this ED is them reflecting on that? It could be. It could be. But yeah. And then we see they all have their own flame though. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just showing them back home and then they saw the flame that Blue Lock promised them. Chigiri's hair with the little half braid and the pink fire. Love. I love that the fire is the color within them. It's great. And then yeah, they all take off going towards their destiny, right? At Blue Lock. Leaving behind the old stadium. Interesting. Okay. And then we see everybody there. Nice. Oh, I love Chigiri and Kunigami and Bachira like holding out their fists and stuff towards Isagi. The other ones don't count. They don't matter. So then we have the little a day in Blue Lock and the time, like what they do all day. And I like Isagi and Bachira, like sleeping next to each other, waking each other up. It's super cute. I don't know who King Kazu is, but Bachira talks about him a lot in his sleep. And then Kunigami is like a gym bro, just master of it. Igarashi Garimu. He's the one that's like just getting the cramps and complaining all the time. I don't like Raichi. Raichi Jingo. Gin is okay. Gin and Quan, I like both of them fine. I don't know much about them. Quan tried to like settle some things and make things better this episode. And then Chigiri during his free time doing hair care. And then you have Imamura doing skin care. Interesting. And then it's bedtime. Huh. All right. But yeah, that episode was really good. I liked it a lot. I'm very curious to see what group we're going to play next and how that's going to work. Like, we're going to have to play Team V eventually, but I think that's going to be down the line. So I feel like hopefully we'll get a couple wins maybe in the next couple episodes to make me feel less nervous for our boys. But, I feel like this discussion was a little bit all over the place, but there's just a lot to take in with this episode, and so I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Lots of explaining, and I feel like this felt like the ground up episode. Like, this felt like the start of something. We just don't know what yet. So, but in any case, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Blue Lock. Bye.